Father Brian Nolan, pastor of St. Ignatius in Iamsville. What a great blessing that we're starting this 5-week series. In the 5-week series, we're going to be focusing on our 6-word mission: love God, serve others, and make disciples. So for each of the 5 weeks, we're going to go a little bit more in depth. You're going to have different speakers, and I'm the lead-off batter. So what a great blessing. And what I wanted to focus the talk on today is God loved us first. What if God were trying to get our attention? What if he was trying to get our attention, like all of humanity's attention in each one of us individual? How many times every one of us can be clueless when God is trying to get our attention? So I'd like to focus a little bit more specifically today on how God shows his love for us and how he's trying to get our attention. So I'd like to talk about 5 specific ways God is trying to get our attention. Let's start with first, the beauty of his creation. How many times they try to get our attention by just the beauty of his creation? Anybody who loves to go at the beach, there's something about the beach, sitting on the beach, feet in the warm sand, the ocean coming in and out, the rhythm of an ocean. There's something peaceful, something healing about being at the beach. How many people love to go climb mountains and go hiking and maybe go to the top of a mountain and look over a beautiful valley or a lake in the mountains, see a beautiful waterfall? Hey, God's trying to get our attention. He loves us and he wants us to get to know him, and you can get to know the Creator through his creation. I have a little picture of the rainbow behind us. There's a beautiful passage in Scripture that says, "See the rainbow, bless its maker. See the rainbow, bless its maker." And how people love to be outside and to see the leaves fall from the trees or the stars in the sky. These are all beautiful things, but we can't stop at creation. Nor do we worship creation. See through creation to see the Creator. I remember one time I was driving in a car with a group of people and with a family, and the mom said, "Everybody stop!" And she pointed to the sunset in front of her. She's like, "Look at the painting that God made for us right now, just right now, irreplaceable, unrepeatable. Look at the painting God just made for us." That idea of stopping and getting to know God through his creation. He's trying to get our attention. When you see beauty, he's trying to get your and my attention because he knows us and loves us, and he wants to be in a relationship with us. But that's one of the ways he tries to get our attention. And that reality is you don't even have to have faith for that. You can come to know that God exists through reason alone. What? Absolutely. You don't need faith to know that God exists, that it's not an accident, that it's not just chaos, that there's a natural order and beauty, and it points to creation. And you can know that from reason alone. Now, you can't know God personally, but you can come to know that God exists. God tries to get our attention, first and foremost, through his creation. Second, how's God trying to get our attention? Through how he made us as humans. And that's the beauty. You see, humans are the pinnacle of creation. Does that sound arrogant a little bit? They're like, who do humans think they're more or better? Actually, it's how God made it. It just is. Some time ago, I remember seeing those signs, maybe you're in a farmer's market and it says, animals are people too. Animals are people too. And you're like, no. Okay, I get the humor in this, but animals aren't people. Animals are different from from humans. We're made differently. I mean, obviously we know the gift of animals in God's creation. Who hasn't heard seen a blue jay or a songbird singing a song? And there's something good about that. There's something beautiful about it. Who hasn't had a little soft fur of a little bunny rabbit and just found just great delight in that? Who hasn't had the close companionship of a dog or a cat? And they say we're part of our family. Yes and no, but yes, but different, still different. It's mysterious, but animals and humans are different. There's a famous author, G.K. Chesterton. He wrote a book called The Everlasting Man. And this is what he said. He basically said this. He said, a giraffe and an elephant, they've never drawn a piece of art. They've never drawn a piece of art. A cuddly koala bear or a seagull has never written a poem or a sonnet. Remember the haikus? They've never done a haiku. A koala bear has never written a haiku. A butterfly will never build a cathedral to worship God. As awesome as they can even have little homes, but it's not a cathedral to give God worship. Nor will a turtle or a slug build a soccer stadium or a schoolhouse. Humans are made different. We have an intellect and a will, a free will, and we're made in the image and likeness of God. Only man, only humans, man and woman is made in the image and likeness of God. So actually, I've got a little Bible here. We see right away in the book of Genesis, let's just remind ourselves of that God made humans the pinnacle of a creation, that even when we see ourselves or see others, we can see God reflected because we're made in his image and likeness. How beautiful it is in creation. Listen to these words. This is Genesis 1:24. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds. Verse 26, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over the cattle and all the earth and so forth. But it's God made man, humanity, in his image and likeness. Keep going. So then God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created him. You know, in society, we always talk about the dignity of every person. But the next verse is, male and female, he created them. The complementarity of men and women, there's nothing more basic, both revealed by God, frankly, and just seen in the body. In the mammal community, there's only male and female. And there's a great gift that actually the image of man and woman reflect God, each in their own unique and beautiful way. But let's keep reading. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. You see the whole mystery of God's creation. That was God's design, that only in the mystery of a man and a woman made in his image and likeness can come together in a one flesh union. And only in the mystery of a man and woman in that one flesh union can life be given to it. Be fruitful and multiply. That's God's ways and God's design, and we can come to know him through that. So one of the ways, the second way that God's trying to get our attention is just look at humans. Look at how we're beautifully and wonderfully made in his image and likeness. It's part of the ways that he gets our attention. Okay, we're on number 3, the way God gets our attention, and that's our story of faith. And that reality, that one way God tries to get our attention is he came and became one with us. We call it the incarnation. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Now, if you read the Old Testament, there's many stories of God initiating a covenant, right? He created Adam and Eve and they lived in friendship with him in the garden. He made a covenant with Noah and Moses and Abraham and King David. But I'm here to tell you there's something special about Jesus Christ. Jesus says, when you see me, you see the Father. And so the beauty of God initiated, he wants to get our attention, and he came to earth to get our attention. Some years ago, I was given a talk to Catholic educators, actually in the Frederick area, and I was trying to do it simple. It's like, what is the good news that we want to tell everybody? And after a lot of prayer and reflection, I said, we probably could sum up the good news in these simple ways. Really, it's the 3 big feast days that we celebrate: Christmas, Good Friday, and Easter. So what's the message of Christmas? We're not alone. God is not distant. He's Emmanuel. God is with us. God is not distant. He's with us. That's the message. The message of Christmas is God is with us. He became one with us. What's the message of Good Friday? This is from Nikki, the founder of Alpha. He talks about that when you see Jesus on the cross, just seeing his body spread on the cross, what is the message from the cross? I love you. I love you. What if people had never heard that message of I love you? And what's the third message of Easter Sunday? He rose from the dead and says, come and follow me. Come and follow me. And so you can see how beautiful that is. That beautiful is that God tries to get our attention through Jesus Christ. How can we not tell the world about Jesus Christ? Some time ago, I remember specifically seeing a series of videos of Jewish converts. And they were reading passages from the Old Testament. And their phrase was this. They were like, how come your Jesus is in my Bible? I was like, what? How come your Jesus is in my Bible? And they were reading passages even like Psalm 22. Do you remember Psalm 22? The first line of Psalm 22 is, my God, why have you abandoned me? And this is how it describes in Psalm 22. But I am a worm and no man, scorned by men and despised by the people. All who seek me mock at me. They make mouths at me and they wag their heads. He committed his cause to the Lord. Let us deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. Yet dogs are around me. A company of evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. Are you kidding me? Psalm 22. They pierced my hands and my feet. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all of my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. This is the gospel foreshadowed in Psalm 22. What about Isaiah 53? Isaiah 53, it goes like this. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their face, he was despised and we esteemed him not. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that made us whole. And by his stripes we were healed. And we all like sheep had gone astray. We turned every one on our own, and the Lord had laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb led to the slaughter, like a sheep before its shearers is silent, he opened not his mouth. And it continues on. Jesus was foreshadowed in the scriptures in the Old Testament. He came to get our attention as a little child on the cross and the crucifix that we see in churches and in homes and in many places. He came, that's the third way he came to get our attention. How can we not know and share that message with others? Number 4, what's another way God's trying to get our attention? Every one of us, whether we fully understand it or not, but we can know it. We have an innate understanding that you and I have a greater purpose and destiny. Everybody has that experience. It's like, I think there's something more. We're not just material beings, just kind of going through eating cereal in the morning and just going day to day. It's so much more than that. We always have a sense there's so much more than that. Do you know the story of Tagashi Nagai? He's a national hero in Japan. He was an atheist who worked in the worked with radiation in the early days when he started realizing when you work with radiation, you're probably going to die from radiation. But he was dedicated to science. He had no belief in God. And yet someone invited him to daily mass. He was a boarder with a Catholic family, and he was invited to daily mass, or not, to Christmas mass. And when he went to Christmas mass, he experienced a sense of the presence of God. And like faith was began to plant in his heart. Shortly after that, his mother passed away. And he still didn't really become a convert yet, but he had a sense that, I don't think this is the last time I'm going to see my mother. And because of this little seed of eternity, he realized the fullest thing that ultimately in Jesus Christ that we can come alive in this life and ultimately in the next. And that's the reality. Every one of us has a desire for it, but it becomes crystallized and crystal clear when we know and get to follow Jesus. That every one of us has a purpose and a destiny and a mission. Do you know Cardinal John Henry Newman's, who is a canonized saint in the last couple of years? He has this famous prayer. It's called My Mission in Life, and it goes basically like this. God has created you and I to do him some definite service. He has given you and I a task that he has not given another. I'm like, what? The first time I heard that. God has created you and I for some definite purpose. He's given you and I a task that he's not given to another. And then he goes on, it's a little more mysterious. It's like we may no longer not understand it fully in this life. But it's like my difficulties still serve him. My trials and disappointments, they serve him too. And it's this very humble prayer of like, I don't always see it, Lord. I don't always know it. But I know that you have a calling for me, and not just in a generic way, but specifically, and not just specifically, but in our day-to-day life, a calling for us to follow him as best as we know and best as we can. How many people use the phrase that, hey, I'm just trying to live for something greater than myself? But that's too generic. Faith reminds us we're not just called to live for something greater than ourselves, but literally someone greater than ourselves. God tries to get our attention. That little desire we have of we know that we're made for something more and something ultimately much greater. Okay, fifth, and it's simple, that God tries to get our attention through those who love him. Now, traditionally, we'd speak about the saints, but it's also just anyone who loves him. He wants to use all of us. And so I just like to give a couple examples of someone first with those who live heroic faith. Do you know the story of the 40 martyrs of Sebast? It's an area in Turkey. And it's in the early, this is like the 370s, St. Basil wrote a story of the accounts of the 40 martyrs. They were Roman soldiers, and they were basically said, you need to burn incense to our gods. And they're like, we can't do that. No, you have to burn incense with the gods, or we'll torture you, and we'll imprison you, and we'll kill you. You'll ultimately be martyred. And they said, we're not going to do it. And they put him in prison. They tortured him for a while. They put him in prison. And this is that night. They were singing psalms and praying. And at midnight, they were filled with the holy fear upon hearing the voice of the Lord. Good is the beginning of your resolve, but he who endures to the end will be saved. They called to mind that scripture verse. He who endures to the end will be saved. And one of the Christian soldiers, Syrian, he exhorted his brothers, this is the beautiful thing, on that night before they died. God so ordained that we made friends with each other in this temporary life. Let us not separate even eternity. Isn't that a beautiful image of friendship? God has ordained that we're friends in this life. Let us try not to separate, even into eternity. Just as we have been found, singing to our mortal King, let us strive to be worthy of the favor of the immortal King, Christ our God. And so basically, they were stripped naked and put out on an ice lake, very cold, bitter cold day, freezing cold day, stripped naked, all put 40 out in the middle of this icy lake. And they basically set up a warm bath on the side. They were like, look, you can have a warm bath. Anybody can have a warm bath, as they're freezing to death. And everybody's holding together, and they're like, hold fast, hold fast. They're like, look, you can have a warm bath. We have blankets over here. They even brought some of like the mothers. Look, your mothers are calling for you. Just come, just burn incense. You can have a warm bath. And they stood strong for a long time. One actually gave in and just said, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And as soon as he got in the hot baths, the shock was he instantly died. And one of the soldiers, Ignatius, said, I will take his place. I too am a Christian. He took his place, and that night, all of the 40 froze to death actually together as friends. Oh, this witness, heroic faith of saying, we worship God above all. Worship God above all. These 40 martyrs were canonized, 40 martyrs of Sebast. What heroic faith. Now, you hear or see something like that, it's going to get your attention. When we live faith, even through the dark or difficult times, it gets people's attention. What about steadfast hope? I think about the story of Cardinal Francis Xavier van Thuan. He was the Vietnamese Carter. He was named an archbishop, and he was doing great things for God. He was starting Catholic schools and religious communities, and he was just doing great things for God. But the communists arrested him as a Vatican spy, and they're like, look, just admit you're a Vatican spy. He's like, I'm not a Vatican spy. And they put him in prison for his faith in solitary confinement, 3 years in house arrest, and then 10 years in solitary confinement. So he lived in a very small room for 10 years, solitary confinement. And during that time, he was very much broken down. But God sustained him through these really difficult times. God gave him his 5 loaves and 2 fish in prison. There's a little book about meditations on the 5 loaves and 2 fish God gave him in prison. There was one time he was complaining to God. He's like, Lord, I was doing all these good things for you. I was doing this. I was doing that. And as he was complaining, he heard a voice. And it said, Francis, do you not know that I can raise up anybody to do those things? Your call is to not worry about that, but to be faithful to me right now, right here. In those 10 very dark years, he was a steadfast witness of hope. When he was laid out of prison later, he had no, I don't seek any hatred, I have no revenge. And he became a witness, especially for peace and justice. He was sent to the Vatican and died. And whenever I tell the story, whenever I meet someone from who has a Vietnamese background, I'm like, do you know the story of Cardinal Francis Xavier van Thuan? And when I came to this parish, they were like, I do. He's my uncle. What? Our parish, he's a related uncle to one of our parishioners. Are you kidding me? This great witness of steadfast hope that calls attention, the love of God, and we can hope God even in the darkest of times. We have these witnesses of the saints. Okay, what about persevering love? Do you know the story of Malcolm Muggeridge? Malcolm Muggeridge was kind of a BBC commentator. He left a very self-described hedonistic life. And he was sent to film a documentary on Mother of Teresa of Calcutta, and he had heard about her, and she wasn't really famous at the time. He was the one that made her famous, and they did some filming, and he started seeing, like, look at how she's going to the destitute and the poorest of the poor, and she's sacrificing her life for the poor. So it was a very beautiful and heroic. And when they filmed, the lighting wasn't that good, and it didn't seem like it was going to turn out, but they kept filming anyway, and everything came out beautifully. And he was so moved over like a radical charity, of heroic love, that he's like, she convinces me to follow him. If she is following the one who's given his life away, and she's given her life away, how can I not be? He was so moved by her love, he became Catholic and a great witness. He went through a conversion. Sometimes God's trying to catch our attention through radical love, and he's calling us to love radically too, to catch others' attention. What? God wants to use you and me to catch others' attention? So let me summarize, and then I'm going to end with a story. 5 ways God is trying to get your and my attention. The first way, through his creation, he's trying to catch our attention. Second, through humanity. We're made in his image and likeness. How beautiful that is. Third, God himself came to initiate a relationship with us, a covenant, to get our attention. Tell that story. Fourth, there's something deep within us that just senses like there's something more. I have a greater calling and mission. Come to know it through Jesus Christ. And fifth, he wants to get our attention through all of us. He wants us to help get our attention. So we have a job, we have a mission. The last story I leave you with is this. If you know the story of the comedian Jeff Foxworthy, he tells the story of he was asked to help out and work at a homeless shelter, and he's like, sure, I can help you out. Do you need some money? Like, no, I don't want money. I want you to come and I want you to lead a Bible study for the homeless men. He's like, and there are a lot of people in Atlanta to do this. Like, I'm not gifted in this. I've been in a small group, but I'm not gifted in leading a Bible study. He's like, no, I want you to lead a Bible study. And he said many times they wouldn't come, but he got Chick-fil-A. And he would bring food. If he brought food, they would come to the Bible study. And one time he tells the story of he was just asking him questions and trying to get him to talk because they weren't really talkers. And he said, look, what is the Bible? And one of the men said, the Bible is just a book of rules. And the guy said, it's just a book of rules? Took it up, threw it in the trash can. If it's just a book of rules, I guess that doesn't bother you. And he said there was this really big guy named Wayne that picked up the Bible and said, don't ever do that again. And then Wayne told a story. You see, Wayne had been a drug addict, had been really stuck on crack, and he never had money. He was living on the streets, homeless, and when his mom died, his mom had given him a little Bible with a kind of a love letter in there and said, this is the way. This is the way. How beautiful it is. This is the way to God. Follow this. It's a love letter from God. And that's what he wrote. So when he was on drugs, he got an inheritance from his mother, $70,000. He had never had $70,000. So he started like, let's get more crack. Let's bring a lot of women. Let's have parties. And it went place to place and just spent the money foolishly. And like a prodigal son. And little by little, because he was on drugs, he lost things. He left that behind. He left his bag with the Bible behind. And then he didn't have anything, lost all the money. Now he's homeless. The women all went away. And now he's just still addicted to drugs on the streets. And he said there was a guy who came by. He says, hey, went to the homeless guys and said, hey, I need some people to help me clear out a house. Will you help me? I'll pay you. And this job was 100 miles away. And this was like a year and a half later, 100 miles away. And they went on the job site and they cleared out the house. They were putting stuff in piles, and then this goes in the trash pile, and there was stuff in there. And they're like, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He's like, what do you want us to do with this pile? And they're like, well, just go through it. If you see anything, you're welcome to take it. And so he went there and literally was going through there, and he went down and pulled out a Bible. And he opened the cover. It was his Bible. And he saw the note from his mom. And he looked at it, and he was literally like I'm 100 miles. This is a year and a half since I've lost that Bible. And I'm 100 miles away from where I lost it. And he said this, and I figured if God was going to chase me that hard, I'm going to quit running. If God was going to chase me that hard, I'm going to quit running. That's the God we serve. He's trying to get our attention. He's trying to get our attention. May we share the good news with others and know the good news for ourselves about how God loved us first.